account show. Dan Hurley is going to stay at UConn. They're going to redo a deal. He's going to be one of the highest paid coaches in all of college basketball. 6 years, $70 million was the reported offer. The reported offer from Woj to Dan Hurley that he turned down. That's not even Monty Williams money. If you're the LA Lakers and you're going to go and try and reel in a back-to-back national champion college basketball coach, even without NBA experience, you pay him maybe not to the heights, but at least in the neighborhood of Pop and Spo and some of the Doc. Like you have to, especially if you've pivoted from what appeared to be JJ Redick to go get Dan Hurley, and they did not do that in the slightest. I found myself, I wasn't surprised Dan Hurley stayed at UConn,
right?
Because I think that there's something to be said to going for a three-peat, and I'm not quite sure the Lakers' job is what everybody's trying to prop it up to be. But then you hear the details of the money that they offered, and it seems completely unserious.
Well, I disagree with you on this. I think the Lakers' job is, and I think we talked about it last time, if you're in the NBA and you get the Lakers or the Knicks or Boston or one of those like supreme jobs, you can't turn it down. I even said to you, I think last time, like, there's no way Hurley could turn this down because it's the Lakers' job. But then I look at it, and first off, the best part to come out of all of this is that there's major drama between Shams and Woj.
Woj.
Right. That's the best thing to come from all this, because there is a major drama and beef between those two guys. And I love to see that, because I'm a Twitter guy. So I love to see that anyway. But I was shocked to a point that he turned it down because it's the Lakers. But then again, in the back of my head, like you, I wasn't, because he has a chance to three-peat and do something that rarely ever, if ever, gets done in sports, not just college basketball, but just in sports in general. A three-peat, a domination. This is a dynasty if this happens. You win 3, you are up in the books forever as one of those teams. So I get that. And then, like you said, then the details come out, and the first thing I thought, it's like you stole my thunder. You stole my notes, Ken. Monty Williams was the top of my notes here, because it was like, how does Monty Williams get paid $14 or $15 million a year, and you're offering the Lakers head coaching job with LeBron and Anthony Davis and probably Bronny and the whole LeBron James family and Rich Paul and the La La Land and the Bus family and Magic Johnson and the whole aura, and you're going to make him like the 15th highest paid coach in the NBA. You're giving him pennies on the dollar, because if any other NBA coach got that offer, they would turn that down, I think, in a second, if they were one of those guys. Like the Spoelsters of the world, not going to take that job, and it's not going to be because of money. But another one of these guys, you're going to a team that's being run by a player and an agent. Rich Paul is the player management guy. LeBron is the guy on the court that has to say yes to everything. Until he leaves, that's what the case is. I loved how all the analysts were pointing out how great Hurley would be for this job, because he's disciplined and it's different. It'll be something for LeBron. No, it's not. If he gets into practice the first 2 days and LeBron's not having it, it's going to be a problem from day 1 and day 2, and that's it. If I was Hurley, I would have stayed at Connecticut, and not just because the money situation, because obviously the money's better in LA than it would be in Connecticut. The fact that you're not getting fired at UConn, that job is yours as long as you want. You just won 2 titles and you're about to win a third, or close to maybe winning a third here. What are you doing? I wouldn't go anywhere. But the Lakers job to me is a huge one. One of these jobs you can't turn down, and that's me who says this. Hurley made the right decision. But then the Shams and the Woj stuff were, he was his first choice. No, he wasn't his first choice. It was his second choice. I love this stuff. I love the drama.
I'm going to fight you on the Lakers job in a moment, but let's hear from Shams. Run It Back, FanDuel TV, our next account at Run It Back FDTV. Here's Shams describing the process of the Lakers pursuing Dan Hurley, according to him, how it came about, and what league circles think about it. Here's Shams, and you can sort of read between the lines some of the shots that he's taking at the Woj reporting of Dan Hurley being targeted by the Lakers. Here's Shams Charania.
Said that JJ Redick has been the front runner for this job. James Borrego has also, been among the leaders for this job as well with J.J. Redick. But when you think about the process so far, right, Rob Pelinka has met, before this Dan Hurley situation, he had met twice with two candidates. He met with J.J. Redick once. He met with James Borrego a separate time solo. And then James Borrego came into the facility, met with everyone, met with ownership. And then they, last week on Wednesday, turned their attention, I'm told, to Dan Hurley. And he was not the number one candidate, the number one guy to go pursue from the start, from the beginning. But they felt like there was an opening there for him. He was in contract negotiations with UConn. He was discussing a deal to go back. And they felt like there was an opening, and they threw what really people around the league believe was a Hail Mary offer at him. 6 years, $70 million. And at the end of the day, Dan Hurley chose not to leave. He chose to stay for $20 million less at UConn. They did go up significantly from his current deal right now, but it is $20 million less. And you think about the Lakers job and what it's known for and the big-time-ness of it, and he still decided to stay at UConn, go for a chance at a three-peat. And, you know, it does beg the question around the league. Was there genuine interest? Was this a genuine process with this? Or was this simply just about leverage? So when you think about it, the Lakers are 2.5 weeks out from the NBA draft. They're 3 weeks away from free agency. No coach yet. And I think everyone around the league doesn't really have a great feel for where this process is at.
So you hear that from Shams. And I initially was trying to stay away from the, oh, my God, how bad do the Lakers look not being able to land Dan Hurley? Like, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And Dan Hurley, he had his loyalty to the institution. He's made his name. Like, I wasn't going to sit there and pile on the Lakers. I'm sure they gave it the old try, the old college try, I guess you could say, the old pro try. But then I heard the 6 for 70, and I'm like, oh, that's a little unserious. I still tried to stay away. But then I heard that. And what it seems to me is, I think if this makes sense, Shams can be right and Woj can be right. They're reporting both spot on, but the angles with which they've taken their reporting and their prioritization has been different. Here's what it appears to me. The Lakers flirting with Redick, flirting with Redick, flirting with Redick, flirting with Redick. And then they hear, hey, maybe Dan Hurley has some thoughts about going to the NBA, and all of a sudden they go, Jeannie Buss sits down with Rob Pelinka. They say, hey, let's look towards UConn, and let's at least talk with Dan Hurley. But we got to do it under wraps. We got to keep it under wraps, okay? So they reach out. They call via landline to stores, and they say, hey, are the phones tapped? No? Okay. Hey, Dan, would you have a little bit of interest in this Lakers job? Would you have some interest in this Lakers job? And Dan said, sure, I guess we can talk. And then here's what happened. Dan takes out his phone. He goes, boop, 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 boop. That's him texting. He's texting Woj. He's like, you'll never believe who just reached out to me. Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. We need to put it out there. Here's where I make my money from UConn and become one of the highest paid coaches in the sport. Woj says, hell yeah, Woj bomb. Appreciate the scoop. Woj bomb. Lakers pursuing Dan Hurley. Then the Lakers are full-fledged unprepared for the firestorm that has come. But now they've got to fly Dan Hurley to Los Angeles. They've got to talk to him. They've got to try and get him. But all of a sudden, they're like, oh, God. Like, what do we do? We weren't prepared for this. We didn't properly vet this. Quick, come up with a contract number. 6 for 70. It'll be $20 million more than he makes at UConn. Surely, it'll be fine. And we can kind of go maybe a little bit cheap compared to the rest of the NBA. So he comes out there, and then he decides, yeah, no, but UConn says they want to sit down and restructure my deal now, and they're going to get it done post-haste. Staying at UConn. And then the Lakers are left there with their pants around their ankles. Right. And that was the Hail Mary. And now other executives have noticed, I don't think the Lakers actually did anything other than throw out a line to UConn and to Dan Hurley. And they put themselves in a mud pit that they couldn't escape. The Lakers literally walked themselves in to a UConn contract negotiation. They literally unknowingly walked themselves into a UConn contract negotiation, and Dan Hurley never really ever had any consideration of going to the Lakers. The Lakers could not have handled this any worse. So it's not necessarily they couldn't land Dan Hurley that makes them look bad. It's their entire process of even reaching out to Dan Hurley that makes them look bad. And now what do they have to do? Go back to the guy with no coaching experience who has been working as a TV analyst and a podcaster and is LeBron's boy. And those are his credentials to become the Lakers head coach. And they tail between their legs, have to go back to JJ Redick and say, "We love you. Be our coach." That's really, really bad looking.
By the way, over the last 25 years, it's a good thing to be LeBron's buddy. You have a good job. You're a top agent. You're Maverick Carter. You're one of these guys. You're getting a coach. You're Tyronn Lue. You're getting jobs wherever and considered one of the best coaches in the NBA. JJ Redick's in a great position right now. Can't hate on JJ, but you're right about the Lakers. I think it was bad only, not that he turned it down, Dan Hurley, and the process was just a horrible process, like you said. I think when the money came out, it really made the Lakers look bad. I really do. Not necessarily the turning it down, but the fact that, and we go back to Monty Williams, but you go back to like the Spoelsters of the world, obviously should be paid like one of the top head coaches because he is. Same thing with Pop. And then you go to Monty and you see, well, if Detroit can pay $14 or $15 million to him, the Lakers got to at least offer that to their next head coach, whether it's JJ Redick, whether it's Dan Hurley, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point. It's amazing to me that the Lakers could let themselves get into this position without having kind of the answer already known. You're telling me that you don't have an inside guy that could go talk to Dan Hurley beforehand, before they even put the offer out there. It says, you really interested or not? Like, be honest. Like, we're going to offer you a lot of money, but you're going to come here or not? Because we don't want to look bad. You're going to get your money. Whether UConn or here, we get it at this point. And by the way, the $20 million saying, there's $20 million more, to take the Lakers job. Not if you're living in California, by the way. That $20 million get eaten up in about 2 seconds by all those taxes out there. Thank you. That's why we have great coaches in Florida, all over the entire state, and Texas, by the way, there too. It just, when someone turns down, and we're going to get, I know we're going to get this because we're like literally driving at each other here. When someone turns down the Yankees job, the Red Sox job, the Lakers, the Knicks, one of these high profile jobs, it's always a story. When someone turns down the Pacers job, when someone turns down a small market job, if someone turned down the Sacramento Kings job, we wouldn't be talking about this. But it's the Lakers, but it's the Yankees, but it's the Red Sox. It's one of these teams that it's the Cubs. And I know that's going to, fire right under your ass, right? It's one of those things. And that's why it surprises me when someone says no, because it's one of those jobs. Because maybe in the back of my mind, if you're ever offered a job like that, how the hell do you turn it down? Well, it's been turned down more than once. So obviously I'm wrong in this situation or in this conversation.
Well, let's listen to Rob Parker, Fox Sports Radio, at Fox Sports Radio. He eviscerated Dan Hurley, and he agrees with you, for better or worse, Zach. He agrees. How could you possibly turn down the bright lights and the massive stage of Los Angeles and the storied Lakers franchise? Rob Parker went off and eviscerated Dan Hurley at Fox Sports Radio.
Will regret this going forward. What are you thinking? Hello, is this on? Really, Dan Hurley, the guy nobody knows? They know your brother Bobby Hurley better than you. I know you won 2 national championships back-to-back. You won a 3-peat in this college basketball, downtrodden college basketball, B-grade college basketball. This is what you want? You didn't want to be the whole enchilada in Los Angeles. You'd rather stay in Storrs, Connecticut, the armpit of Connecticut, and instead you want to be small potatoes with no ketchup? That's what you want? Wow.
Come on, man. Here's a golden opportunity. Stand up and be bigger. So,
wow.
Rob Parker not mincing any words there. Here's where I would argue that, though. Okay. One, unless you're mine and Zach's age or older,
Right.
nobody knows Bobby Hurley more than Dan Hurley. Okay. A 20-something does not remember the exploits of early 90s Duke Bobby Hurley. Sorry, not the case. Okay. Dan Hurley now in 2024, the much better known Hurley at this point, unless you're a hardcore Arizona State fan. And you know how many people those exist, Arizona State basketball super fans? Zero. None.
Right.
Never met one in my entire life. Okay. Then there's the Lakers job. Come step up to the bright lights. B-grade college basketball. In 2024, you know what is an infinitely more difficult job, more worthy of praise? Winning back-to-back and going for 3 straight national championships in college basketball. If this was the days of Dean Smith, if this was the prime of Coach K, before NIL, before transfer portal, before college free agency, Rob Parker, I wholeheartedly agree with you. But there would not be one NBA coach that did 1 year coaching an NBA team and 1 year trying to keep a high-level college basketball team together to go for a championship that would agree with your assessment that it's somehow lesser and taking the easy way out to stay at high-level college basketball and win back-to-back and maybe 3-peat national championships than it is to succeed in the NBA. Then there's the subject of the Lakers job, and this is where I disagree with you, Zach. 20 years ago, the Lakers job had prestige. It had panache. The Celtics job had prestige. It had panache. But in the NBA in 2024, there are no longer tiers based off of the history of a franchise. There are tiers based off of how competently an organization is run. And there is nobody that can make the argument to me that the Lakers are a top-tier competent organization. In fact, if anything, the Lakers have allowed themselves to be taken over by one man on the floor, which is stunning. Afforded opportunities that not even the great Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were allowed in their prime. Much more proud all-time great Lakers than LeBron James, yet that's the situation they're in right now. If the Lakers' job is so good, then why, since Phil Jackson rolled the sidelines, Zach, have we had vaunted NBA coaches like Mike Brown and Bernie Bickerstaff and Mike D'Antoni and Byron Scott and Luke Walton and Frank Vogel and Darvin Ham as the Lakers head coaching options? Juggernauts, Hall of Famers, nope, that have been the Lakers head coach. Now all of a sudden Dan Hurley is flirting with the Lakers, and the Lakers are flirting with him, and it's, you've got to take advantage of this high-profile job. No. The Lakers' job ceiling right now is a 5 or a 6 seed. They've been a play-in team the last 2 years with LeBron James. The history of the franchise doesn't matter. The current situation the franchise is in what matters in terms of how great the job is. And the job just ain't that great.
Listen, you have a lot of information there. And God, that list of coaches is so bad. It's so bad. I can't. The more I think about that, I'm like, you've got to be shitting me that that's what the Lakers have done in the last 20 years, coaching wise. I still in the back of my head want to say the Lakers, the Bostons, the Yankees, like those jobs, the Knicks is going to be. And by the way, I heard someone say this after Hurley turned the job down. I forgot where it was. Of course, I wasn't paying that much attention. That Hurley will coach, get a 3-peat, maybe coach another couple of years, maybe win another championship in a couple of years. And his dream job is right there, and it's the New York Knicks head coaching job.
Ian O'Connor. Ian O'Connor was saying.
That's who it was, right. There was Ian O'Connor. Like, he said that, and I said to myself, okay, in that situation, I get it, because he's not staying at, like, a mid-tier college for a couple of years. He is staying at the top college basketball program right now, or right up there in the mix every single year. So he's keeping that job. He's going for the 3-peat. And listen, eventually, Thibodeau's gonna, his time will be out in New York if they can't win. That always goes. Whether they love him or not, he'll get fired, and then Dan Hurley will take that job. That's the job he's going to take at some point. But to me, it's just tough in my mind. Maybe I'm living in the past, and that's probably where the whole thing comes from. I look at that Lakers job as a top tier A1 cannot turn down job, no matter what your other job is, no matter what it is. I don't care where you are coaching in college or NBA. If the Lakers call, if the Knicks call, and both franchises, by the way, the two I just brought up, two of the worst in the last 20 years outside of a couple Laker championships, they've really been bad run from the top down. I still look at them as the tier 1 jobs, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're not at this point.
I think we're just getting – I think you're right, your self-assessment of living in the past, and that's fine. Like, I do that as well. But I think things have evolved, and this is the NBA, in my mind specifically, in a vacuum. Today, you have a chance to take the vaunted top-of-the-mountain Lakers job with LeBron James, or a vacancy suddenly opens up in San Antonio, and you acquire Wemby. If you're an aspiring head coach that wants to win a championship, which job are you taking? And I'm going to that small market. I'm going to San Antonio immediately over dealing with whatever the Lakers have on that roster. Does that make sense?
You're not wrong. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you're Dan Hurley at this point, or another really good college coach, really good, like trying to get your name out there. You've done everything you can in college or close to it. Dan Hurley's in a different boat than every other college coach because he's won 2 straight titles. But you're another aspiring guy. Name is out there, and every time a coaching job comes up, your name gets put in the mix. And that San Antonio job comes up. The Lakers job is out there. A couple other jobs are out there. You're right. I think you have to take that San Antonio job. And I was thinking this whole time, too, of asking a really dumb question because it would never come up, and especially we know what happens down here. If the Lakers job comes up, if the Boston job comes up, if the San Antonio job comes up, or the Miami job comes up, organization-wise and player-wise, if you had to put them in order, I think the Lakers are 4th.
Yeah.
Out of those 4.
Now, the Heat job is interesting because the Heat, more so than any organization, I think you would have to hire from the inside because, again, to work under Riley, you're not just plucking someone and Riley saying, there you go.
Or you have to be from like the Riley family. Like you have to know, like, and I was this. Right.
Yeah.
You got to
know
Riley
what's going on there. It's still very concentrated within that Heat organization still. So honestly, if that job opened, you know who the first call would be? Chris Quinn. He's the head coach immediately. Like that's 100%. He's the heir apparent in that spot. So I think that if I were a college coach as well, I would have learned lessons from the past from Rick Pitino. He went to a Celtics team that needed a lot of work. That didn't go well. John Calipari went to a Nets team that had absolutely nothing. That didn't go well. Billy Donovan, who's been stuck in mediocrity in Chicago because they just don't have the pieces or an organization with any foresight enough to build a competitive roster. They all made the leap from, well, I take that back. Billy Donovan, though, first time around, he took over a team that was on the precipice of starting to explode and had gone to the finals, and he was unable to get them back there. But that was a team ready to win, which is why he got a second opportunity. So I would have learned all those lessons from those 3, though. And if I'm a college coach and I'm coming from a back-to-back national championship team, I'm not inheriting an NBA team that has work to do to get itself championship ready. I'm inheriting a team that has a championship piece that is about to get there, or a team that's ready to win and ready to win now. And the Lakers are not ready to win now. The Spurs aren't either, but the Spurs have that championship piece where you're also going to get a little bit of leeway because the guy's going into year 2, and you're going to be allowed 4 or 5 years to see this thing through. It just was not going to be smart business. Big potatoes or small potatoes or whatever the hell Rob Parker said, and all. That's just not a prestigious job, at least not at this moment.